SMB penetration testing. So first, we know about the SMB protocol. SMB is basically running on 137 to 139 and 445. This is the protocol port number of SMB. So normally whenever you are conducting a port scanning of any machine or any network, if you find out that 139 or 445 port is open, then some kind of SMB is used in your network. If SMB is used in Windows, it is called SMB. But in Linux system, suppose your network is designed on the Linux server, so SMB is called Samba. SMB is not known as SMB. SMB is not as known as Samba server. So I hope you already heard about the SMB and the Samba server. So in today's session, we are going to learn about basically how to use SMB and how to extract information using SMB and how can we penetrate if SMB target or SMB port is open. So the process is very simple. First, you need to analyze that if your SMB is open, and to do that, you can launch your port scanning techniques using Nmap. And if Nmap shows that SMB is open, then you can begin your SMB penetration testing. So the brief description about SMB is SMB is a network file sharing protocol that allows your applications and users on a network to access files, printers, or other resources. So whenever a large network is created and we have limited resources like printer, so what we use in a network, we use SMB. So everyone in our network can use that particular resource like printer. So you see about in that movies or in some corporate networks as well, like one printer is used in particular network. Not every device connected to the printer, or not every device is used a separate printer. They use only one printer. So the printer is basically connected with the SMB protocol. So that's how a network is designed. Like a SMB is used to connect that printer with your all devices. So all the devices can access the printer and other resources. All devices can command the printer to print out something, and then you can manually connect it, right? So let's first check it out in our environment if SMB is open, and we use Meta2. So in Meta2 is running on Linux, so you will find out that SMB is not running. Basically Samba is running on that protocol. If we find out the IP of our Meta2, which is 192.168.216.129, and if we conduct a simple port scanning like Nmap space -sv, and we are basically testing out a single port, so I'm providing -p and then -39. Also, I'm going to test out if 445 is open or not. So giving out the 445 as well, and then providing the IP 216.129. Once you run this command, you will find out that your 139 port is open and 445 port is also open. And as I already told you that this Meta2 machine is running on Linux server, so that's why Samba is created, like Samba is used. So if you check it here, a Samba version is used. We don't know the exact version, what type of version Samba is used, but we somehow know that it belongs to between 3.x to 4.x, right? So whenever you are about to conduct a SMB penetration testing, and find out that SMB is open in your system or SMB is open in your network. So what particular steps you can do? So as network pen testing basically relies on your how you connect or how you gather information using banner grabbing or how your enumeration techniques are strong. So first we perform the enumeration techniques, है ना? Right, enumeration techniques is some kind of technique where you will launch some tools, techniques, or some automation tools to collect the information about the target. And as SMB is open, we have some banner grabbing tools, we have some enumeration tools to perform that particular task. And when you run this tool, you will find out some information. So first thing I'm doing is running a SMB script using Nmap. So your Nmap script will be, I'm running Nmap on port number 445, and your script will be SMB OS discovery space your target IP. That's the first script I'm running on the SMB to find out the operating system. So that particular Nmap script will reveals the OS version, the SMB version, and some other useful information related to SMB service. As we got the information here, you can see the OS is Unix, and we also know the version of Samba 3.0.20. The computer name is Metasploitable. The net BIOS computer name is unknown. The domain name is local domain. The system time where we conduct our scan is this. So some basic information is showed to you. Basically, when you run Nmap, some basic information will be retrieved. What you can use Netcat also. Netcat is also capable to perform SMB banner grabbing, and when you run the Netcat using the command netcat space your IP and followed by the port number. So I'm going to run the netcat on both port because 139 and 445 is open. So I'm running netcat on 445, then I will run the netcat on 139. So let's run the netcat on 445. Let's see what information we. So when you run netcat, and what information you can retrieve, some kind of SMB version and system's host name. We already know the version or the system host name using Nmap script, but you can run the netcat also. So there is alternate method basically we have, as we can run Nmap as well as netcat. This will take some time to show the information to you. this is taking some time. So while the result will be shown to you, so it is not showing any result. So let me run the netcat on the 139. While this scan is running, see one more thing, like you retrieve the SMB version, which is 3.0.20. So what basically, if we talk about the SMB versions, so the latest version we are using right now on multiple Windows servers like 2016 or Windows 10 or any Linux servers is after the 3 version. There is more versions available like prior versions with SMB 2.1, SMB 2.0, SMB 1.0, SMB 3.0. So these versions are used in Windows Server 2012, Windows Server 2008, Windows 8, Windows 7, Windows Vista, and earlier versions of operating system. But right now, the SMB 3.1 point something or 3.0 point something is used in latest operating systems. And these versions are also vulnerable for some kind of attack. So whenever you gather some kind of network or some kind of SMB version information, you can construct your attack according to the version. And once you find out a version, you can simply look up for the exploits in the Google, like if any exploit is particularly available for that version. So I'm going to use the Google for searching the SMB exploit for that particular version. So check it out. Samba 3.0.20 exploit. And you find out a exploit. The name of the exploit is user name map script. So we can search this script in our MSF console and try to create a connection, right? So let's launch the MSF console. And here I'm searching username map script. So a exploit is found. Use that exploit. A particular payload is already used. So let's check out the requirements. You need to provide the R host. So set R host with your IP. And now let's launch the attack. So if your attack got successful, you will receive a command shell open, and you can check it out that your system is connected with your machine. Right. So this is only one method, but we can do some more testing with the SMB. This is a simple exploitation step. You identified the SMB or Samba version, find the proper appropriate exploit using Google, and launch the exploit using your machine, right? Using your MSF. And once, if your exploit got successful, you receive a reverse connection or maybe a bind connection on your MSF, and maybe a meter repeater is opened or maybe a command shell is opened, and that's how you are connected with the machine. But in SMB, we can also perform some more tasks using some different other tools as well. So there are tons of tools that are available for enumerating, banner grabbing, or exploiting the SMB configurations or SMB protocol. So I'm going to show you some different tools that we have to perform penetration testing or collecting some information rather than using Nmap, Netcat, or MSF, right? So see that the very first tool we have is MB lookup and MB lookup. This tool is particularly installed in your Linux system, pre-installed. You don't have to install it, and using that tool we can enumerate the desktop name. Like we can provide a command -a followed by the IP address of your network, and see, here is your host name. So suppose you are running an Nmap and you are not able to capture the host name. You are running the Nmap script for capturing the details of the SMB protocol, but your Nmap script is not properly running. So for alternate scenario, you can use this tool as well to capturing the desktop name or basically the host name for your network where your SMB is running. So this command or this tool is enumerated the host name, right? There is some other tools are also available, and one of the most tool we have is NBT scan. NBT scan is known as net BIOS scan tool, and it is a program for scanning your IP networks for net BIOS name information. It basically sends some net BIOS query to the address you supplied and received the information in some kind of form. So you will, what information you will get? You will get the net BIOS computer name, the logged in username, MAC address. Some information you can retrieve with the help of this NBT scan. So I'm going to run my IP here, 129. So here is your information retrieved, that IP address is this, net BIOS name is Metasploitable, server IP is not known, user that is logged in into the system is Metasploitable, and here is your MAC address. Sometimes in a virtual environment, we are receiving zeros because some SMB requests are not particularly made of. That's why you are not particularly receiving the MAC address. But if you perform or run this tool on an actual environment, then you will receive the MAC address as well, the MAC address of the computer, right? So NMB lookup or NBT scan, these are the two tools we have to perform the banner grabbing. After that, we have a Nmap script also to perform the net BIOS name or to get the host name or MAC address. And the script will be --script space NBT scan. nbt state space your IP address. So I have to run it from here because I provided the script name. So let's run the command here. This is your script and be state. So nmap script nbstat.nse followed by your IP. Now you will receive the host name information, basically net BIOS information. Here is your information available. This is your host name. So these are different methods we have to collect the information about the host name we have on SMB protocol. After that, what you can do, you can launch a tool called SMB Map. SMB Map is a tool that allows users to enumerate SMB share drives across your entire domain. It will list drives, drive permissions, share contents, upload download functionalities, file name, that auto download functionalities, or even execute your remote commands. So if any of your drive is in share mode in your SMB environment, so you can collect the information using the SMB map. SMB map is pre-installed in your Linux, so you don't have to install it. And the command will be SMB map space -h running your IP. So it is initializing host and checking if any of the drive is accessible or not. See, here we get the information. So that is not in appropriate format. So let me run again. So here is our information retrieved. We basically authenticate on this port, status authenticated, and the drives, print drives is not accessed. The temporary directory is available for read and write. The op directory is no access. The IPC is no access. The admin is no access. right? So the only drive we have that have permission for read and write is temp. So using that information, we can try to access this temp directory, because in this temp directory is basically available for temporary shares, and anyone in the network can read and write. So this SMB map tool or this SMB map framework or script will help you to analyze if any of the drives is shareable across your entire domain. Whatever drive you receive, the permissions you have, you will enumerate or you can collect the information using this tool. Now, once you have this information, we can try to make contact with temp territory and retrieve some data in it. Or if any of the data is available in this temp, we can retrieve it. So how can you retrieve it? You will need to use another tool called SMB client. See, that's why I told you that the enumeration or the testing of SMB is slightly different from any other port, because SMB is a common SMB is most used protocol in entire network. It allows you to share resources, and if a network is designed, there are some kind of resources available that needs to be shared, because in a network they cannot design separate systems for each devices. So somehow they have to use SMB on their network, and if SMB is not particularly configured, an attacker or the tester who's testing their network can retrieve some valuable information and can receive or retrieve some valuable data from the network. So you need to use multiple tools. So for enumeration, we have multiple tools, like you have Nmap scripts, you have NMB lookup, you have NBT scan, you have SMB map for mapping everything. But for exploitation purpose, you have this SMB client tool. SMB client tool is a useful tool we have to test connectivity to a shared drive. It can be used to transfer some files. You can use to make some connections on the shareable directory, right? So what command you will use? You will use SMB client space followed by your IP slash the directory which is shared. So the temp directory is shareable. So I'm trying to access that temp directory using the SMB client. And if that connection is successful, we can see anonymous login is successful. Now we are connected to the system's temp directory. So if you want to list something, there is something available. If you want to upload something or want to download something, then we can do that also. There are multiple commands available to use or to retrieve the information from the client, right? These are all the files that is available in temp directory. But if you want to create more, suppose I want to create this test.txt here, so this is created, you can check it out. And if you want to download some files, so I'm going to download this one into my system. So the file is now downloaded in my system. Let's check it out if we downloaded or not. So see, test.txt is not available. Maybe the path is different. It is downloaded in the root system. So to connect with the any directory which is shareable, you can use the SMB. So let me run you the SMB map again. So suppose rather than temporary directory, you receive the admin directory permissions open, or you will receive the printer directory permissions open, any other directory permissions open, or any other drives permission open. Here you are getting no access, but suppose if you get the access or the permissions are applicable, permissions are available to access that directory, you can launch the SMB client tool. And the syntax for launching the SMB client is this: SMB client, then you have to run is at double slash followed by your IP and slash your directory name. So suppose admin is applicable, so we can write this admin. Let me try with the admin. So it will ask my password. So you can see the connect is failed. Anonymous login is successful, but the connection is failed. So let's try to connect with the opt directory. So it will ask my password. So connection is failed because no permissions are there. There are no permissions to access the directory. And in temp, we have the permission to read and write. That's why we are capable of accessing or connecting to the temp. So if I visit the temp again, SMB is connected. There is one more tool available, which is NetView. NetView. Let's give the IP /all. Here you need to provide the backward slash. It is not making contact, but the command is right. Okay, this one is for Windows. In Windows, suppose when you are enumerating SMB and you find out that your host system is running on Windows, then you can use this tool. Because we are using backward slash, so backward slash is basically runs on Windows. In Linux we are using forward slash, so that's why we are not receiving any output with that command. But that command also is list the domains, the resources that are being shared by a specified computer. So in SMB there are multiple things we have, multiple tools, multiple techniques you have to launch your scan, right? All these scans are basically relies on how your informations are shared in your network. And to find out, you have different tools. You have SMB map, you have NBT scan, you have SMB client to connect with that shareable domain or shareable drive. You have Nmap scripts, you have MSF commands also. Anyone have any questions till now? So there is one more powerful tool available to get the all information about your network resources that are running on SMB, and the tool name is Enum for Linux. Enum for Linux is also very powerful tool that means enumeration for Linux, but this tool is also runs on Windows Server as well. So if you find out that your SMB protocol is running on Windows Server rather than Linux server, so you can run this tool also. You can run this tool on Windows as well as Windows, right? So the command will be for enumeration for Linux. Enum for Linux is giving the IP address here. The Enum for Linux is complete enumeration tool. It will gives you the user's information, the shares information, everything, the password policy, the operating system information, everything. So let me run this command and we are getting everything about our target using SMB. So we will check all the information one by one once the scan is completed. So scan is completed. Now let's check out all the information it is retrieved. So here our tool begins. First, target information. So this is your target information. Then it is enumerating the work groups. So the work group is work group, the NBT stat information. So here is your host name. We get that information using the NBT tool as well. Then session checking is done. Like this server is allowing sessions, all the users. So these are all the users we have. The share information, which we are getting from SMB map. So you don't need to run different tools. You can only run Enum for Linux. You will get all the information. But sometimes, suppose in your environment Enum for Linux is not allowed, then we have some alternate options as well. This is also pre-installed in your system. So here also we are getting the information about the print temp opt IPC admin. And here we are not particularly getting if this sharing is allowed or not, but here we are getting it. Enum for Linux is basically trying to map shares or trying to make contact with the shares. And if the mapping is allowed, like here, temporary is allowed, but in print is denied, opt is denied, IPC is denied, admin is denied. So rather than using different tools, you can only run Enum for Linux and get about all the information about your SMB protocol. Here is your password policy list. So if you know about the password policy in Linux, basically the shadow file. So this is the information about shadow file and some different other information which is not available right now. The users, the printer information, because no printer is attached with that machine. So I'm not getting any information. So you can use Hydra also on that machine to crack the password of SMB. So Hydra, Medusa, OPH crack, Zone Ripper, these are the some brute force tools we have. So suppose if I try to run the Hydra on the SMB protocol, so let's run the Hydra. So I'm running Hydra. Space hyphen capital L. As I don't know the usernames, word list is metasploitable Unix users.txt hyphen capital P users share word list metasploitable and Unix password. After that, SMB :/ followed by my IP. Now Hydra is trying to crack the password, and if we got successful, then you will receive the password. So all these are processed for SMB enumeration. Now let's talk about the exploitation. So one exploitation we already seen using MSF console, but what other techniques we have if we ever find out that SMB is open in our network and want to check if any of the known vulnerability is available. So we can take the help of Nmap. We can run a script called SMB-1 star space your IP. So this script of Nmap will check out all the known vulnerabilities on that IP related to SMB. Some DOS related vulnerabilities, right? So if any of the vulnerability or any of the server is vulnerable for that vulnerability, the result will be displayed here. So the script result is, see, this is running some different scripts. So this particular exploit is not available. This reverse DOS is not available. This script is not executed. But if you have, or if you find out that your SMB is running on Windows, so then maybe some these kinds of attacks will be happen. And I think there is a Python tool also available for exploiting the SMB information. So this Python tool basically identifies the user account. So we already extract the information about user account using Hydra, but you can also use this Python tool as well. So the Python tool will be look up SID. This is the Python script you have. So it is not opening in my system, but this is the Python tool we have developed by Impacket, and the Python script name is lookupsid.py. This lookupsid.py script will basically identifies a SID, a unique value of your variable length that is used to identify a user account. So using that Python script, we can identify the user accounts that is available or exist in our system. But we got that information using Nm for Linux. We got this information using SMB map. We got this information using NMB lookup. So this is also a alternate script we have. So first, we have some introduction about SMB, the histories and the versions of SMB, the common use of importance of SMB, some techniques to banner grabbing. So we have Nmap, Netcat, SMB client. We run the Nmap on the port number 445 or 139 using a script called SMB OS discovery that will help you to identify the OS version, the SMB version, or other useful information. We can also use the Netcat. In our system, Netcat is not running because that SMB is running on Linux. But if you run this Netcat on Windows environment, then maybe you will receive some SMB version and the host name information, right? Then we have some other tools also like SMB client and NM for Linux or Metasploitable SMB enumeration modules. You can get the information about SMB using all these three tools, but we also used one more tool called SMB map, right? And NBT scan. We also use these two tools also. So the command for SMB is SMB client space -L. And if you find out any of your directories shareable, you can directly access your shareable drive with the command SMB client space your IP and slash your directory name. So that will be your command using SMB to connect with that shareable directory. Then you can use Nm for Linux, giving your IP, and it will enumerate everything. It will enumerate the users, the password policy, the operating system information, the connected devices, everything. Then if you want to particularly pen test the SMB, then the first is authentication techniques. So for authentication techniques, we use Hydra to crack the password. Here is your Hydra. This is Nm for Linux screenshots, and here is your Hydra. So using Hydra, we are able to crack the password. Then we launch the vulnerability scan techniques using Nmap, the Nm for Linux technique, the SMB client technique to connect with the SMB, and the vulnerability scan using Nmap. And for that, we run a script called SMB-1 star. This is the script name. Why I put a star here? Because in Nmap, there are multiple scripts available for checking the vulnerability of SMB. So by giving a star, basically I didn't specify a particular name. So Nmap will automatically pick up every script that is related to SMB vulnerability. In the screenshot, it only given a particular script name. But using this, we can give every possible script name that is available in the Nmap. And using Metasploit, we can launch the DOS attack, we can launch the enumeration, we can launch the exploitation tool as well. That depends on what type of SMB version you have. So in that screenshot, this is based on Windows. So a DOS module is used, but what I showed you is based on Linux. So that's how your SMB is enumerated.